Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Industrial Packaging Podcast with me, your host, Nathan Dube, Digital Marketing Specialist at Industrial Packaging. On today's episode, we have special guest, Rob Grubbs Jr., President at Alliance Plastics. Ron, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Nathan. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, we have an exciting topic today, folks. We're going to be discussing stretch film, which is one of my favorite flexible packaging products. So without further ado, let's jump into the first question. Ron, can you tell us a bit about Alliance Plastics and your role at the company?
Absolutely. Alliance Plastics is a company that was started back in 2003 with myself and my father, and we are a manufacturer of stretch film, as well as we're the most innovative company because we came out with products that nobody else has. And the role for me in the company is, I guess, I am the president of the company as well as chief bottle washer. So I do a little bit of everything, as everyone else also does around here as well, Nathan. So,
That's funny. I used to work for a company called Expert Laser Services. In fact, the former president of that company, who is now Industrial Packaging's general manager, his father's official title was chief bottle washer.
yes, actually, my dad would have probably preferred to have that on his card. So,
That's
but
fantastic. I love it. So, question number two, where can people find you guys on the web?
they can find us at www.allianceplastics.net. It's a full service website that also has educational products on there. Also has some pretty neat videos that can also for training purposes, as well as it even has a little bit of a workbooks that you could actually do. And we also have a application that they can pull down from Apple as well as from the Google Store. So and that app is great because it'll actually give them the opportunity to ask the correct questions, troubleshoot, as well as, again, they'll have definite tools and calculators and guidelines on it. So,
That's fantastic. And I've seen the app. So, listeners, if you're interested in that, check it out. It's fantastic. It gives you access to videos, white papers, brochures, training materials. It's an absolutely incredible tool. So, moving on from there, this is a great question. Number three, how is Alliance Plastic stretch film different from other films on the market?
well, we're the most innovative company in stretch film. What we did was we pushed the technology to the limits. What we wanted to do is bring products that nobody else has. Um, because right now the world is looking at a way to actually reduce plastic waste. This is an item, of course, that stretch film is the most dynamic of all products because you're taking something that is so thin, you're stretching out 300%, and then holding pallets to get from point A to point B. As I always call it, it's the cheapest form of insurance you could actually buy. But the important part is for the world is it is, after all, you're insuring it from point A to point B without damage.
Totally.
And so you're trying to do it with as low of a cost as possible. And typically, what I always tell everybody is the cost of your invoice, that stamp on your invoice, is actually going to be more expensive than the cost of your load. So what I try to do, is, of course, is we're pushing now to actually become a more greener company, to actually bring more sustainability, to lower the carbon footprint for everybody that uses our films. And we also have technology in the nano layer technology that we've invested in that is 55 layers. So if you can imagine, Nathan, you have to puncture through 55 layers of film in order for it to break. So regardless if something is 49 gauge and it's 5 layer, if something is 49 gauge and 55 layer, if they're made with the same exact ingredients that go in, your 55 layer film is going to give you a lot more durability, more puncture resistance, and more stretchability. And that's what we've introduced in the marketplace. So we are driving towards working with people like Industrial to show people how they can save money and make a less of a carbon footprint out there.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you just said, not only because we're selling your product, but because I saw a demonstration of these films firsthand from Kevin Shea. He was absolutely incredible, entertaining, incredibly knowledgeable about the products, and to see these films in action and the way that they work differently from traditional stretch was absolutely incredible. And I totally believe in your products, and we're super excited here at Industrial Packaging to be offering your products, which brings us to question four, which is, can you tell us a little bit about your elite vendor program and the benefits of buying from an elite distributor, such as Industrial Packaging?
Well, one of the things that we wanted to introduce was if you look at the marketplace, everyone has decided, as far as your competitors go or everything else, the simplicity of just calling people and getting a line. And we wanted to make sure that we rewarded loyalty. So we created the Elite program. And this was based on the fact that we wanted to choose and work with our partners and say that these folks in a geographic area are going to be our only distributors. Now, that means that you guys will have the pricing advantage. You'll have all the training advantages. I always say that it's much easier for our sales reps if they're flying into a airport, if they're actually getting picked up by the distributor and actually making only sales calls with that distributor, then we all know that we can trust each other, and that's what we're going to do. The best part about the Elite program is that it allows us to focus all our attention on our elite partners and able to go out there and sell the product lines and then concentrate on, of course, doing all the goals that we want, that we have a partnership together on, which is to bring more sustainability to the world, to drive down the cost for our customers, and to also, for me, it's also a mission of making sure that the loads are secure, because it is a matter of life and death. I don't go out there and say, hey, if you don't use our stretch film, then you're going to kill people. But what I do tell people is that, you know what, you're going to have the most contained load, and one that gives you all the goals on sustainability that you want, as well as you're going to have, in our opinion, the greatest value and the greatest cost savings in every load that you ship out between industrial and alliance. And that's what we're trying to do. So that's what we do with our elite vendors. And we do that in a geographic area that we give them pricing advantage that, again, nobody else will have. And that's what our goals are.
Well, that's amazing. And again, we are just so stoked to be working with you guys. It's been a pleasure to speak to various people in your organization. I've worked with Kevin to develop a blog post, which is actually going to segue nicely into the next question. And this is an exciting product, guys. You guys have a film called SteelFlex Reinforced Titanium Stretch Film. Now, this is by far the strongest film on the market. What makes this film so special?
Well, it's and and you know what, to give people even more perspective, um, people don't realize I created this film all by accident. So most people know us for our ventilated stretch films that we have for the produce industry, for for beverage industries, for the breweries out there. But we actually had a customer that came to us and asked us if we could recess those holes, or we can make the holes a little bit smaller. And what happened was a mistake. We actually didn't puncture the film deep enough to actually make a hole. And so what happened was is that we had this reinforced stretch film. Of course, no holes, so therefore it wasn't ventilated. And then we thought it was a failure, so we threw it where all bad film goes, which is actually on our wrapper, because we don't aren't concerned with our own stretch film costs because we have plenty of it.
Right.
So we wrapped a load, and we actually started to see the containment force was off the charts. And we have, of course, now tested it where it is absolutely 100% the strongest stretch film in the world, and the strongest stretch film you could buy. And it brings solutions on so many levels, because everybody has that one load that they can't wrap enough with stretch film. They can't tie it down with steel strapping, or this film will actually contain that and ship it again for that insurance from point A to point B at the greatest possible value. And so the titanium film is a reinforced stretch film. It's what I've always called to tell people is it's like if strapping and stretch film had a baby, this is exactly what it would look like.
Right.
And the containment force is off the charts. And the great thing people don't realize about this is it will actually work from 0% to 400%. And you heard me correctly, 400%. We have, if you have a variable stretch film gear, then by all means challenge this film, put it on there, put it up to 350, 360, 370, 400%. Where no other stretch film will probably run, this film will actually stretch that far.
Yeah, I saw this in action when Kevin came to our facility to do a training. I mean, we're talking about wrapping pounds around or in excess of 6,000 pounds. I mean, these are largely applications that no other material in the market's going to be able to do. And I absolutely love that catchphrase. If strapping and stretch film had a baby, because one of the coolest topics about steel flex titanium is that it can literally replace traditional stretch films that are used in tandem with steel strapping or other forms of strapping. So you see not only improved strength, but a real cost savings in value when you switch over to this product.
Absolutely. And if they partner with people like yourselves, what your customers are going to find is that with the time studies, with everything else, because it's not just about the material that you use, uh, it's a lot of other variables that go into it. And what we saw was, for example, we did one application that was doing hydraulic fluid, and it is 55-gallon drums, four of them on a square pallet. That was one of the most difficult loads that they've had, and they used 26 ounces of stretch film to actually contain it. And we're going to the fact that they were going to actually start using strapping because they were having so many load failures. We took them down to about 8 ounces of film without having to use strapping.
Wow.
And by taking them down to 8 ounces of film, they had another engineer who actually tested the method of how fast they were wrapping. Obviously, we cut down how many times they had to wrap. So now they had bottlenecks at their wrapper. So now they were actually flowing through much faster. So he actually came up with an assessment as far as a time savings analysis to show how much savings they had on that front as well. So you're right. There's so many things that you could do with this. And what really amazed me with my team was how brilliant they are. They actually came up with all the applications because we called it brick wrap in the very beginning because we said, wow, that's so strong. It could wrap, a load of bricks.
Makes
And
sense.
so people actually got pigeonholed thinking that it was only for the brick and block industry.
Ah,
And so how I came up with the song Titanium was playing. And I said, hey, that's a great name for a stretch wrap. Let's
that's
call it
awesome.
titanium wrap. And so without having to give any money to David Guetta, I hope, but this is actually titanium stretch film was born, and then it expanded, of course, from there. Actually, just by a name change, it actually expanded all the applications, and then everybody started coming to us. Can you do this? And of course, the answer was we were proud to say yes, yes, we can. So
That's fantastic. One of the things that I love about learning more about your company in today's episode is that you seem to be very driven by not only a desire to succeed, but sustainability, which we'll discuss a little bit later, but creativity. I mean, the fact that, the creation of this film was a happy accident and you used a song title to name it appropriately so that it would sell better. I mean, that's gold. That is storytelling at its finest.
well, I love to look at products and I love to hear the story behind them. And then it's just like everything that we do, and I believe when I ask the question, why would people buy from us? I also ask why do they buy from our distributor partners, which is why we actually partner with them. And that's the thing that we drive for. It's truly amazing when you look at everything that goes behind the scenes, and it looks so simple when you buy it, but you don't really know the whole story behind it. To me, that's what gives it, the reason why we buy it in the first place. So we're very passionate about this industry, and that's one thing, Nathan, that we do bring, and that's why we partnered with your group, is because we share the same passion, not only for taking care of the consumer, not only for the sustainable goals, but also because you know what, we really do love this business, and we also love to change this business, which is why we're always going to come out with new products.
That's great. Thank you so much for that feedback. I think our listeners are going to really value this episode and they're going to react quite well to it. I expect to get some orders out of this episode. And speaking of which, we got our first lead for a stretch film post from a previous podcast. And I can't give any details about it, but we are currently quoting stretch film from you guys for a client that we connected with through the podcast. So I believe that'll probably be the first of many. Um, Now, with that being said, we'll head into question 6, which is how can clients use down gauging to save money on stretch film costs?
Well, it's truly an important question nowadays because with the price of this is a petrochemical product, so you see the fast rise in this product has caused a lot of people to look at their budgets, saying, "What happened?" You wake up one day and the pricing has gone up 30%. And my goal has always been which has opened up a great window for both of us, is to actually go in there and show people, hey, look, maybe I can't make all these increases go away, but what I can do is I can make a certain amount of them go away. And more importantly, this actually gives us the entree for them to actually say, okay, let's check this out. So a lot of times people are so busy, but now with the pressure of their budgets, they're looking at every dollar that they could save because we're all going through this inflationary crisis. So what I would say is that on the down gauging part is it's all about how we could actually get that pallet from point A to point B at the greatest at the greatest value without, of course, any type of injury or any type of um, degradation to load integrity. And how we do that, of course, is that we go out there with our partner and we show them savings. And then with the 55 uh, layer nano film that we have, we could show people that they could actually hit a sustainable goal of reducing 40 to 50% of what they're currently using. And then, of course, showing, and I always want to say that I don't want to have single digit numbers when I show savings. I want to have double digit numbers. But we could actually make some of these price increases go away. And the most important part is that we're going to give them a better load, stability wise and integrity wise, from where they started, from going to point A to point B. We guarantee that. Otherwise, then why change? And if we weren't good at it, then we wouldn't be expanding, we wouldn't be growing. So we obviously are very good at it with our distributor partners like Industrial, and we're very successful with it. And like I said, the increases with everything that's going on in the world right now, the increases are not going to stop. Um, we're going to see more of them. We hope that the prices will always go up; they'll always come down. But to me, I don't think that there's a downward slide right now. There's going to be more upward. Um, and so I think that anything that we can do to help and alleviate that, eliminate some of that pain for our customers is the most important part. So down gauging is going to give them the greatest opportunity to perhaps make some of these price increases go away.
Yeah, I mean, living through what has been, just unprecedented global supply chain problems, compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic, the debacle with the Ever Given container ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal, the conflicts going on in Russia. I mean, there's just been one thing after another. And, I was talking to our customer service rep, Regina, the other day, and the one question we're getting from people a lot is, why are prices going up so much? And I'm going to be writing a post on this. I've written a few in the past, but we're just constantly getting inundated with questions like this. So, people are feeling these pain points, and it's really everyone across the board, like you said. And I think what separates your product from others is that you're really looking at the industry and your solutions holistically in a way that isn't exclusively profit driven. You're not just thinking about how are you going to hit your margins. You show care about your customers, you show care about safety, about sustainability. And I think this is a reason why your films, for many people, are going to become their favorite films. Now, with that being said, question number 7 is, what is your personal favorite stretch film product from Alliance Plastics?
Oh, there's so many, but I could tell you the nano layer film, the 70SX that we have, which actually is a 12 micron or 47 gauge film. It is a beautiful product to drop in, whether they're running 80 gauge or 70 gauge traditional, or even higher end films in the 80 or 70 gauge range. If you drop that in, it's an incredible film to run against, and you will absolutely score all the highlighted points, all the goals that we set out there for you to achieve. You'll hit it with that film. Probably another film that I have to give mention is our Duo Nano, which is our pre-stretch line of films. And we actually came out with a 5 micron film. And 5 micron for everybody is 20 gauge. It is a 20 gauge pre-stretch film. And it still has not only incredible cling, but more importantly, it has great puncture resistance and still gives you a great load integrity to again successfully ship from point A to point B. And we're seeing that again with sustainability goals, we're driving people from pre-stretches that are traditionally 30, 31, 33 gauge. We're able to show them the 20 gauge film, and again, they are successfully hitting sustainability goals by cutting down their usage of plastic products. Um, but of course, titanium is also one of my favorite films. just for the fact that, again, nobody else has it. So, I always tell my distributor partners what I love is when we get phone calls asking for it, because the only way that people are calling us and asking for it is not because of our brilliant marketing campaigns. They're actually have lost a piece of business to it from one of our partners, and so it's enjoyable because, again, there is no place else for them to get this film, so they have to call us. So that's one of the great things about titanium. So, but uh, like a father, it's almost asking a father, who's his favorite kid. And unfortunately, Nathan, I can't really tell you, but I have so many. I have so many favorites. But I do say that beyond a doubt, I love selling our 12 micron Nano Still Flex Extreme product. It is just a beautiful product.
Well, I certainly agree with that. And I mean, one of the most exciting blogs that I've worked on this year is the titanium stretch blog. So I'm looking forward to continuing to help my marketing department and sales team, our growth team here at Industrial Packaging, to sell more of this film. And I absolutely expect that we will. With that being said, I mean, I know it's hard to pick a favorite product. Are there any other products you want to touch base on before we move on to the next question? I know you guys do corner boards and you have some different types of films. Or anything you'd like to touch upon before we continue on?
Just our ventilated film. One of the things that we created was our Air Force Max, which is it basically gives you a larger hole. That's the only way to explain it. And what we saw was is that a lot of people that are using ventilated stretch films, they're using the same wrap pattern as they did before, and they're probably using way too much. And the other thing too is that when you cover up the holes, you also cover up the fact that you really need ventilation, so
Right.
you start to ventilate less. So we created this product to actually give you the maximum aeration. And Air Force Max is a product, again, that if given the chance, if we can go out with you and your team, we can show people, hey, you don't have to use. You could use about 50% less of this film because it has such huge power bands on it. The same power bands that we have on our titanium. They're actually even larger on our Air Force Max. You can use that product to use about 50% less and then still achieve your goals, because let's face it, people that have to use ventilated stretch film, they have to use it for a purpose because of spoilage, because of mildew, because of all kinds
Right.
of other nasty things that will happen if blanket stretch film around a product that needs to breathe. So, um, but yes, that's one of the products that I would say is, again, one of the ones that probably we don't really quote enough. That we sell a lot of it, but it's one of the products I always say, hey, you know what? Did you ever even talk about this? So, when I talk to my sales guys. So
Well, we just talked about it today, and I know our listeners are going to be intrigued by this. And knowing our customer base, I know that there are people who have applications for this. So my guess is, in a matter of months, if not sooner, you'll be seeing orders from us. So you can certainly look forward to that. And this is a film that I think, like all of your other products, our customers are going to love and they're going to be passionate about. But there's other reasons to be passionate about a product in a company like yours. And you had brought up sustainability earlier. And now, for me personally, sustainability is something that I talk to most of the guests who come on the show. It's something that is incredibly important to me as a consumer. And you guys have a program that you're developing. You're currently buying back bundles of used stretch film to create recycled stretch films. Can you tell us anything about this process and the films that will eventually be made from these protocols that you are in the process of building?
yes, Alliance Plastics wants to be on the forefront of a lot of these programs. And again, uh, most people talk about sustainability, and to us, we're passionate about it. So we actually want to create a closed loop program where we can actually get stretch film back. We can compound it, turn it into pellets, put it back into the film. So our goal is, of course, is to use this product to create an element of PIR and PCR, post-industrial and post-consumer recycled content, and actually be able to put it back in. Now, could we use it in some of these higher end films? We're toying and we're playing with that, and we will have that technology down the road. Right now, we're going into our converted products, which are hand wrap, and our 3-inch and 5-inch products that we make. We will be putting it in that we are currently putting it in there now, where we can put up to 30% of PIR, post-industrial recycled material. And we are actually working with a lot of recyclers, as well as working with partners like you, to actually get your customers to commit to allowing us to get that product back, and then we will again cycle it back through. In the future, we envision, with the technology that we've purchased, to be able to create a nano layered film that's going to have 30% PCR and still be able to give you uh, down gauging capabilities. Uh, we can do it right now on hand wrap. We hope to commercialize it so that we can set it out all over the world. But we also want to do a product down the road that'll be compostable. Now they'll be separate. It won't be 30% PIR. It'll be compostable. That product will be different. And what we want to see is that life cycle of stretch film. That if it's 1,000 years, if stretch film can last 1,000 years in a landfill,
Right.
that we want to be able to cut that down to maybe 3 or 4 years. That we know that, one, that we won't have microplastics, which are very harmful for the environment, but we want to make sure that it goes basically into dust, into something that, again, will be carbon neutral, and also will be something that sustainable for the earth. And that is our goal. We will achieve that. I don't know when that time frame is going to be, but we're fastly approaching it, because we're making greater strides in it than I thought we would. Right now, you can buy what we call Bandflex Green, which is taking that 30% recycled material and putting it right now into our converter grade. And so we are actually selling that currently. We will do that in hand wrap. We've already tested the material in machine film, and like I said, very soon the goal is to have a nano green product, which you can stretch from 250 to 300% and still be able to take somebody from a traditional 80 gauge down to a 14 micron, and be able to have, again, all those things that we're looking for, and load integrity, everything else. And again, be able to say then, hey, I've reduced the carbon footprint by uh, X amount. That's the goals. That's what we're looking for in the future. And of course, obviously, if you go with our program, with our nano film, you already can do source reduction to the tune of 40 to 50% easily, um, by the test, and those that data is actually good data. So if given the opportunity where we actually go and test it, you'll see a direct correlation between those numbers. And I always tell everybody, if you don't believe the numbers that we create, just look on how often you have to buy film. If nothing else has changed, and you used to buy film every 4 weeks, and now you're buying it every 6 to 8 weeks, then we did exactly what we said we were going to do. So that's always a good way to look at it and say, well, hey, how often are you buying film? That makes me feel good when we actually achieve that.
Well, I can honestly say, after listening to that description, that these products from your company are, for me personally, excuse me, the most exciting products that we are selling right now. I am just so amped up about this because, as I said, sustainability means the world to me. So when you throw out terms like, sustainable packaging, closed loop, bio-based films, these are all things that I've written about to a great extent, but we haven't seen a lot of progress from other companies that are playing around with bio-based materials. So it sounds like you guys are in the cutting edge, and you're probably well ahead of your competitors. Um, and I used to work for a company, and we had a closed loop product. We remanufactured toner cartridges for printers and copiers and things of that nature. We would take the cores, refill them with brand new toner, all brand new parts, resell them, and we would get an additional one up to 300 uses out of that core. And at the end, we'd send it to a company that broke down that black rigid plastic and made things like benches and skis and things like that. So this stuff just absolutely gets me going. And what's interesting about both of these companies is, as part of my marketing for it, I created animated cartoon series on our YouTube channels, and I was pleasantly surprised to find that you have voice acted a cartoon character for some of your marketing videos. The one for Steel Flex Titanium, you talk about drilling a hole through the film and then wrapping it and showing how even after you've practically destroyed the film, it still works better than your competitors' films. And I thought it was really interesting that you guys leveraged animation. What made you guys decide to get into animated advertising?
Well, the short answer is that we're horrible actors. And so and so it was easier to do animation, but we wanted to create a whole series of animated videos, which we did, and we kind of took it with the MythBusters program, where we
Right.
created, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And so we did it as well as on our quarterboard products, and it's probably the one area of our videos that people always come back and say, "Hey, that was the best video," or "That's the video that they get attracted to," or "That's the video that they go to first, that they actually watch the whole thing and listen to it." So we wanted to make it educational, but more importantly, going into that animated stage too. Obviously, I couldn't freeze Dave. And I couldn't, I couldn't drop things on his head in real life. So doing it in animation form was much better. So and like I said, I'm still a kid at heart, so I still love the old Looney Tunes, and so I thought, what a great way to actually bring it to the marketplace and let people see it and hopefully enjoy it. So
Oh yeah, I mean, I am 100% with you. I love animation. When I was a kid, I wanted to work for Disney or Marvel or any company that's producing these really beautiful high-end animated films and voice acting characters. And it's something that I was fortunately able to do in corporate B2B settings for my previous company and now industrial packaging. So I just think it's absolutely incredible that you guys are doing the same things. In fact, we may have to work together in the future. Perhaps we could have you guest as a cartoon version of yourself on the industrial packaging web cartoon series. It's certainly something that would be worth a conversation at some point in the future. And I just absolutely love that you guys have embraced using animation and voice acting, which really brings an element of liveliness and humor. And like you said, it's that childlike wonder that really drives people to actually watch at least 50 or 100% of the video. So I absolutely am right in line with the approach that you took there. Now, with that being said, we're coming up on the last question, which is what is one thing you wish more customers knew when buying stretch film?
so I think the most important part is that I wish it in this world of information that we all are witnessing. I actually grew up where my first sales call was I didn't have a cell phone. They actually gave me a calling card, a pager, and I actually went to a payphone back then. So the world of information that we have now is at our fingertips, and I think the unfortunate part is that there's still so much disinformation about films and everything else, and I think that people either can get uh, overindulged in information, or sometimes they're so inundated with information that they aren't really studying it. So I would say is that the most important part for us is to be educators and to actually show people, what is the differences between films, or what to actually measure in stretch film performance, and what to expect out of films. And I think, for me, I think that again, uh, the world sometimes is too much with us, and we just seem to be inundated with so much information. And I field a lot of questions that are. I usually joke all the time that I field the same questions over and over again, and I always field the same questions from the same people over and over again. And my role is also as an educator is to not lose patience, but to help train them. And I feel sometimes that maybe I'm failing in my job if I can't train them to actually learn the answer, look up the answer, remember the answer, and or teach them how to figure out the answer. So it's much easier for people just to pick up the phone and ask me the same question that they've asked me 10 times already, and get the same answer that I've given them 10 times earlier. So to me, I think that it's a matter of just education, and that's really where we become the experts anyway, because we know this product line and they expect us to know this product line and to guide them on it. But there's so many people that are selling this product line, and this, they're your competitors that don't know it. And they also feed into that disinformation about the product line. If you put somebody in a 12 micron film, Nathan, somebody comes out and says, I have a 12 micron film, and their film doesn't come near our performance. Well, they're putting that customer at risk, and they're putting potentially consumers at risk. If you put something up on if you're walking around Home Depot and you put it up there on the shelves and it's only being held by a 12 micron stretch film that probably shouldn't be on in the first place and starts to tear apart and falls down on somebody, obviously you're putting that liability, you're putting that person in jeopardy. So I do take it seriously, and that's one of the areas that I really, really can't stress enough, is that there has to be an element of education. And to me, there's so much disinformation, or there's just not enough people out there that actually really want to learn stretch film. And look, Nathan, people don't share our passion about stretch film.
Right.
Um, I can go to a meeting with a bunch of bankers and I have no interest in what they're talking about. And if I tell them what I do, I can see that their eyes glaze over. So I understand it's not the most glamorous subject to people that aren't like you and I. But again, I really find that the most important part for everybody that I wish that they would take from this is to actually learn more about the product. And because, again, they won't make those horrible mistakes that can be made. And that's the most important part out there.
Well, I totally agree with you, and properly educating our customers is a big part of what we do here at Industrial Packaging. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for yourself and other employees from your company to work with us. We could potentially create more educational content together, whether that's blog posts or animated videos, podcasts. So it's really exciting to be connected with someone who is as passionate about the products that we sell, but not only passionate about the products, but safety, sustainability, the way that it affects people's lives, the way that consumers respond to the products, and what it actually means to them. So that's absolutely great. And this has been a phenomenal conversation. I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today, Ron. This was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
You are most welcome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for another episode of the Industrial Packaging Podcast with me, your host, Nathan Dube, Digital Marketing Specialist at Industrial Packaging. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope you will tune in for the next one. But until then, I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.